Hey guys, this is Travis Bayless with Beyond Bipolar blog. I'm with my brother, and today we're going to discuss about Invega. Now, Invega is an antipsychotic. It is actually kind of a souped up version of Risperdal, which is an older drug. I want to say that there's two classes, and I believe that it is atypical. The typical ones are usually older and suffer from more side effects. Now, I've actually tried it way back in the day in 2009, and I developed so bad akathisia, which was restlessness, that I wanted to commit suicide on it. So I never actually stayed on it, and that was primarily the reason why all these older antipsychotics didn't work. I tried 8 different ones, and I ended up finding one called Lithium. But my brother wanted to talk about it because he also was on it, and let's hear what he has to say.
So for me, Invega is a pretty memorable one. Again, my name is Kyle Baylitz, and I'm with Beyond Bipolar blog with my brother, and we speak about a lot of mental health issues, and we like to teach people about our experiences with mental health issues and treatments. So with Invega, it was an incredible feat. So the reason why they put me on it, because I did explain that I had paranoia. They thought I didn't really hear voices out of the blue, but I always needed like some sort of excess noise, like a crowd talking, and for some reason my brain would think that people were talking about me, and I would feel guilt and paranoia, and sometimes came on because of the lack of sleep, and I was so anxious and my brain was so overworked, it stressed me out, that I believe that's probably why I struggled so much with it. But anyway, Invega, like I said, is an antipsychotic. They put me on it in 2008, and right away, immediately when you take it, unlike like sertraline or Lexapro or antidepressants, you immediately know that you're on it. Because when I'm on it, you can just feel like your brain kind of fogging a little bit. And even though I would talk like this, I'm a robot. Even my brother noticed it, and I would talk with my mouth to the side, which I don't know if there's a correct term for that.
He had a dystonic reaction, which is pretty much it's an involuntary movement. So he would kind of like, I don't know how to crook his lower jaw, and he would move it around. And I want to say it was like on too high of a dose. I don't know what they put him on, but he was incredibly lethargic.
Yeah, so I was incredibly lethargic. But I remember when I take it, the number one factor that kills people with these antidepressants is the fact that the antipsychotics is the fact that it causes weight gain, huge weight gain. I mean, I gained at least like 30 pounds on the stupid things. I wasn't really exercising, but my weight just like increased like twofold. And
you became a fat guy.
I became a really fat guy. I remember I did a drawing of the Joker, and I was huge because I was on that drug, and I used to be fairly in shape, but when I was on it, I was like huge.
I would always make fun of him.
I guess some benefits of it is that it did calm me down. I didn't feel as anxious, but the problem is I was still very tired on the drug. And with antipsychotics, I feel like they're very, very intrusive. Not alone with weight gain, but it could cause diabetes and
akathisia, somnolence.
And the thing is, Invega was a newer drug at the time. What was the Risperidone, which is the older drug, which I don't know how Risperidone affected you less than Invega, because Invega is actually newer. So
Invega is supposed to be a little better. Invega still was fucking worse. I hated it.
Than Risperidone?
Yeah, because, there's most of the antipsychotics cause akathisia. Even to some extent, Latuda does. I do experience some restlessness, but it's not terrible. Usually I can sleep that off. But Invega was horrible, and it might have not been the worst, but I know for certain I got off it because of the akathisia. I wasn't on it long enough to experience the harsh reality, which it does cause weight gain.
You did it?
I was not on it long enough to maybe experience like the other side effects, but I do know for certain it caused akathisia, and I believe like Kyle and I, it does increase fatigue, so you do sleep a lot. That's the beauty of antipsychotics, is that if you are not getting sleep, they definitely knock you out. Now, it's stated that over time you will develop some tolerance and you're able to be more functional over a period of time, but I don't recommend using machinery when you first try the drug.
Or driving, because it impairs driving.
I want to say that it impaired my brother quite a bit, and I want to say that they were not cautious enough on the drug, and they did not diagnose him correctly, since he was officially diagnosed with anxiety depression. He might have had some psychotic features, but I'm going to say it more leans towards paranoia and less psychosis.
Which could be a personality issue in the end, or my own issues that I was trying to get over with anxiety. So let's talk about psychosis and anxiety and all that. I feel like when psychosis, it's not the typical form of, what do you call it, like schizophrenia, where you actually hear voices out of the blue and see things. That's not exactly what psychosis is, because it can be more indirect. Could you explain what psychosis is more in terms with like bipolar?
Yes,
you didn't hear voices, or see things.
Psychosis is a state of mind where you might experience some tendencies of hallucinations, whether it's voices physically or mentally, whether it is seeing things visually. Now, another problem is that there might be paranoia involved, like you're somehow an agent with the government and you're working for them, or to an extent that, you know, you have these superficial powers and things like that.
So why are you on antipsychotic? What makes you psychotic?
Now, there's actually a tendency where I have bipolar disorder, so it is known that antipsychotics do dampen the mania and depression, so it can be effective for bipolar people.
For mood, then that sounds
so
more
if
like
you have
mood.
a mood disorder like bipolar or schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder, which I have been diagnosed schizoaffective.
Speaking about that, I was diagnosed that the first time too, so that's why they put me on it. When I told them that I don't hear voices per se, but I get really paranoid, like in my brain, if I hear a random crowd of talking, I would feel like people were calling me like ugly, really persecutory things, ugly, a rapist, a horrible person, all that negative self-talk. And it's not just negative self-talk, because for some reason when my brain would hear like random people like talking in the hall, I felt like what I actually heard was actually real people saying these things about me. And this was in high school, and that's why it was so painful for me, because for some reason I didn't even know I was really sick till I actually did some research on it, because I thought that people were actually truly talking about me, and I really was. I would say because maybe due to the lack of sleep, the lack of anxiety, and all that pent up energy, I really did feel like teachers and all that were actually really talking about me. And I feel like I really did experience psychotic breakdowns, but as I got older, I became more used. I care a lot less about what people think. I'm a lot more confident in myself. I gained wisdom, and I don't take things as personally anymore. So in a way, it could have been my own personal struggles I was overcoming, or my shame and my guilt, or whatever you want to call it. And talking to someone really helped, I feel like. But like I said, and my brother mentioned, antipsychotics are probably I wouldn't say the last resort, but one of the last resorts, because they really can affect you. There's a lot of symptoms that you got to deal with, not just the weight gain, the akathisia,
the dystonic reaction.
And then akathisia is where you feel like you want to move, but you can't move, correct? Is that the correct term for akathisia?
It's just inner restlessness. It's a horrible feeling.
And there's a lot of other bad symptoms with Invega.
It might help a little bit to move around, but in the end, you still feel like you got to move around. And
I know a lot of people that have mental health problems, they actually put them on antipsychotics, which I'm not sure is a good idea, because it's really intrusive unless I don't know. Does Invega help like rage fits? Because that seems more like a mood thing.
If you have a mixed episode where you're angry a lot, there is some effect where antipsychotics in general do help rage.
Because it slows you down.
And it definitely does help anxiety. And I've been on Lithium. I've already done a few videos on it. And I feel like it mentally helped. The only reason why I'm on it is because it reduced the akathisia. And the only thing I have to worry about is trying to eat something at night so I can fall asleep at night.
That's another perfect thing. With psychotics, you do, like most of them, you do have to eat because for some reason your body have to metabolize. If you don't eat, your body won't metabolize the med correctly, won't dissolve it, and you won't feel the effect.
So there's no actual official reasoning that you have to take food with the medication.
But I believe you should.
And the only drug that I know officially where you have to take the food with it and so it can metabolize correctly is Lithium. However, generally it slows metabolism down. You will gain weight overall. It's likely it's not weight neutral, so you will gain weight. And
is there more damaging effects though when you take it, like with lithium that affects your, I can't remember, your liver?
It is true that there's mood stabilizers like Lamictal, Depakote, and Lithium. Now, if you're bipolar officially and you don't have psychosis, I do recommend a mood stabilizer over antipsychotics because they have the most rampant side effects. And I feel personally that antipsychotics are used too much, are given away too much, are prescribed too much because of the terrible side effects that they do cause.
So another side effect I want to talk about with Invega and many antipsychotics is tardive dyskinesia. So tardive dyskinesia is like that thing with the mouth, and it could cause involuntary movements, unfortunately. And if you take it for a very long time, it really can hurt you in the end. I really feel like antipsychotics are mainly for people that have rage fits, are primarily for people that are for schizophrenics that truly like hear and see things out of the blue, because for the most part it really does help people. But if you're just suffering from like a mood disorder, or like even then I was psychotic back then, I feel like maybe that related more to my mood and I just needed to talk to someone. So I really feel like antipsychotics need to be used extremely sparingly, even more sparingly than anti-mood drugs or whatever you call it, the mood stabilizers. So
I would actually recommend first trazodone if you're struggling with sleep, and then maybe try
antidepressant before
antipsychotic. But I'd first go trazodone, antidepressant. It's good for sleep, or doxepin for sleep. And if that is not working, then I go to mood stabilizer. And if that's not working, then you can try antipsychotic.
So of all the drugs that you take, what is the most helpful? Is it the antipsychotic, or is it the bipolar?
Honestly, Lithium is the most helpful. Because
is that an antipsychotic?
That is an antipsychotic.
So you feel like the antipsychotic is the most thing that you need in order to survive?
I struggle with a lot of I struggle with a lot of sleeplessness, and trazodone never worked for me. Yeah, to an extent, Lithium worked for me, but back in the past, it wasn't enough because I'd still have suicide ideations. But the thing that it helped curb the most was not just sleep, but the psychosis I was experiencing. Just to name it, I would have these rituals where I take 2 raisins and make it into bed. I would cry over the fact that I think a bullet doll was my dad and mom, and I'd cry when I'd cry when the ball would detach from the body.
And you thought dad and mom was actually dad was dying.
And I kept thinking dad was dying. I kept thinking that the rice was David's brain. I couldn't cut my hair. I would always pace. I would lay with dystonic, I would have dystonia, which is just being listless. I think I confused tardive dyskinesia. There are drugs to fight that, but that's just involuntary movement. However, dystonia is just like listlessness, and it's usually common with schizophrenics. So there is some possibility that I might still have schizoaffective disorder, but I'm officially diagnosed with bipolar 1.
So it's interesting that you say antipsychotic helps you more than the mood disorder pill.
Because I do definitely experience psychosis.
Sorry, so we were talking, we're trying to drive through traffic here. But anyway, like we said, to sum it up, there's so many dang symptom problems, or what do you ever call it, side effects with antipsychotics. I feel like in order, antidepressants are probably the least intrusive, next to maybe lithium, or which are bipolar mood stabilizers, and then antipsychotics is probably the least. Antipsychotics are the least one that we recommend because they're so intrusive. Not only you get tardive dyskinesia, the weight gain, what else?
Dystonia.
The dystonia,
akathisia.
It just can cause a whole load of problems. So you got to balance it out, whether you want to deal with the side effects or the mental health issues. And I really recommend, I feel like most people that are truly psychotic, which is probably not as common, are people that are having hallucinations or extreme paranoia. To me, I'd rather be a little bit paranoid and just deal with it than take an antipsychotic. I really feel like sleep is the primarily problem. If you can fix your sleep, then you're probably good to go most of the time. And that includes with the mood. So when I was on Invega and when my brother on Invega, I actually tolerate Invega more than my brother, to be honest, ironically. I think I stayed on it for at least a year, maybe 2 years.
Really, that long?
It was maybe 6 months. I can't remember, but I just know when I was on it, it really didn't damage me as much. Aside from, if I kept on taking it a long time, I would probably have tardive dyskinesia where my muscles would always spasm.
Didn't you also have dry lips?
And I also had dry lips. And you could see the white stuff when I took it. And I would talk like this. And you could just immediately tell the effect, unlike my antidepressant.
You know,
it was just too much for me.
You know, these drugs, you do have to, for antipsychotics, you definitely have to start at a really low dose and then slowly wean up. And
they are addictive, folks, so don't just stop them cold turkey.
They're not addictive. It just would be horrible to stop cold turkey. They aren't meant for that. So that's it. Do you have anything else to say?
So we hope you learned a lot about this episode. Be careful on antipsychotics. If you need to be on it, okay. That's okay to be on it. But again, with antipsychotics, extremely intrusive and you have to be very careful. It's kind of the last minute resort, unless you're a full-blown schizophrenic that's actually hearing voices out of the blue, or extreme rage fits, and for whatever reason, if you can't sleep. But it's probably a drug we don't recommend as much to go on versus the antidepressants or using a sleeping pill like trazodone or a mood stabilizer. But anyway, Invega itself can cause a whole host of issues like akathisia, where you want to run in place, dystonia, where you just want to stare into space and you just lose track of time because you get so tired, you just stare into space and stare at walls, really. And tardive dyskinesia, where you just move your mouth to the side and you don't even notice it, and it can cause muscle spasms, permanent muscle spasms, and weight gain, which obviously is proof. So again,
induce suicide ideation.
And it may induce suicide ideations. Again, all drugs may actually do that, but with Invega, it actually might be even worse. So again, Invega is the newer drug versus risperidone. Sometimes it's better, and sometimes it's not. But for both of us, we had a horrible experience on it. I don't recommend it. I don't recommend antipsychotics unless you truly have schizophrenic issues or having like real psychosis, like rage fits, because it's so intrusive. But other than that, is there anything you wanted to add about Invega?
No, but make sure if you ever go on it, start at a very small dose and then wean up. It's horrible because I feel like maybe Kyle could have tolerated on a lower dose, but they obviously...
I was on the lowest dose.
And it still happened?
It still caused issues. That's all. It's a very, very powerful drug. Unlike my antidepressant, and trazodone, I do know that I take. You could get tired and stuff, but it's a very intrusive drug, a very powerful drug. So be very careful, folks. I know probably a lot of people are on it. Maybe they shouldn't be on it. There's just a whole host of issues.
I personally know no one that takes it.
Really? You don't?
No, I don't know anyone that takes it.
I don't know anyone either. I think they have the newer host of drugs. Do you actually have antidepressants antipsychotics that you actually recommend?
Latuda, Vraylar. No, those are the more newest ones that, I mean, they're very expensive. To be honest with you, Latuda and Vraylar, which are antipsychotics, are probably the most expensive drugs. But if your insurance covers, I recommend those. Now, since Invega is newer, the cost may be a little bit higher than mood stabilizers.
And in New York, and you already did that. I can't even remember what I was gonna say. And you're already, whatever. I lost my train of thought. But again, this is Kyle and Travis Beyond Bipolar blog. Antipsychotics, always be careful. And I was gonna mention that my brother already did videos on those two drugs, correct?
Latuda and Vraylar.
Latuda and Vraylar, which are better
ranking pretty well.
Which are better drugs. So Invega, we don't recommend. We already listed the whole host of issues. Be careful, you guys. And I mean, if you experience psychotic issues, maybe you got to choose a lesser of both evils. But again, we did not have good experiences. So we hope you learned a lot. Please comment, share, like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for future updates. You have a good one, guys.
All right, take care.
We're here at our destination at the Delta Hotels Marriott, and we're gonna go see a few cat friends and visit go to a party for one of Pastor Park's anniversary today. So we're gonna just have a lot of fun, like yesterday. All right, take care. You have a good one. Bye.